This Penn State men's basketball team just can't get out of their own way.
You are Locked On Nittany Lions, your daily podcast on the Penn State Nittany Lions. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And yes, thank you for making Locked On Nittany Lions your first listen and watch every single day. My name is Zach Seyko, and I'm your host of the show. We're going live here to discuss Penn State men's basketball's latest gaffe. And this was another layup victory. They led within the final 2 minutes, and they drop another one, this time to Michigan, 76-72. If you join the live show here, your thoughts and comments are appreciated. We'll get your reaction in the live chat for anybody that contributes a comment. But Penn State, this goes from bad to worse now, 13-8 overall, 3-7 in conference. I'm not going to say that they're completely out of March Madness and that they don't have any hopes to make the tournament, but they have now lost 6 of the last 7. And now, I guess the bright side is they're losing to good teams, that these are teams that are difficult, that are going to challenge them. But what's frustrating is that this is a team that is comprised of mostly veterans. There are not a lot of the freshmen or inexperienced players that are seeing a lot of the court, but they are acting like it. They are making freshman inexperienced type of mistakes. No communication, no leaving guys wide open, poor shot selection, poor passing. It seems like when the clock goes under 120 to 90 seconds, they forget how to play cohesive basketball. And that's why it is frustrating, because Mike Rhoades is a good coach, but they are not coaching well at this point. This is on coaching, and player execution is following. So it starts with the coaches. Whether these are bad play designs or something, why does this team get so out of sync in the final 60 to 120 seconds? It's inexcusable, because this team, for the most part, this nucleus was together a season ago. Ace Baldwin, along with Nick Kern Jr., Zach Hicks, I guess Freddie DeLeon, and Yannick Konen-Niederhauser are kind of the 2 other pieces to this lineup that need to develop the chemistry. But for the most part, it just seems across the board that this team can't blend together. I'm not sure what it is, because you lose now, but you were leading by multiple possessions and you blow the lead against Michigan. Again, quality team. This is a team that has done well with Dusty May now as the head coach, and they're probably going to make the tournament. But this is inexcusable, because I know that this team is better than this, but they're making such rookie mistakes that it's just also 18 turnovers in the game. They might have had more. I maybe they added 1 or 2 more turnovers in this game. Yeah, they finished with 18 total turnovers compared to Michigan's 9. Now that's supposed to be flipped. This is supposed to be where Penn State forces 18 turnovers and only commits 9. It's real undisciplined play across the board. Poor communication. Guys are left wide open for easy, simple shots. And that's why Michigan was able to pull this off. Penn State did a better job. I thought that the game plan went pretty well. They shot so much better. 47% from three-point range. That should get you a victory probably 49 times out of 50. I won't exaggerate it more than that. That gets you a win more often than not. Let's say that. You're 13 to 16 at the free throw line. You out-rebound Michigan 34 to 26. And the difference is the turnovers. Why are veteran playmakers? Because DeLeon's been in college basketball for 3 years now. Same thing with Yannick Koner-Niederhauser. All of these guys have played a lot of basketball, even if they haven't played all the basketball in the world together. I mean, Penn State made adjustments. They were in a position to win, but they continually can't close out basketball games. So now this is Michigan, Iowa, Michigan State, Oregon, Indiana. Five of these 6 losses should be wins. Coulda, shoulda, woulda, didn't. at the end of the day. But it is frustrating because this group is comprised of mostly veterans that should be able to do this, but for some reason they absolutely fold like a house of cards in the final moments of a basketball game. Somebody put it very well, saying that basically this team prays that the clock just runs out, that they just finish the basketball game and don't have anything to do with it. And it starts and ends with coaching. And like I said, this group is not brand new. Mike Rhoades has worked with Ace Baldwin for years. Before Mike Rhoades and Ace Baldwin and Nick Kern all came over to Penn State from VCU, they were there together. It's not like all of this is brand new and that it's makeshift or anything like that. So it's frustrating because they're an experienced team, aside from a few players that came over from the transfer portal that were upgrades. DeLeon is an upgrade and creates one of the best defensive backcourts alongside of Ace Baldwin and Nick Kern, but you wouldn't know that based on the way that Penn State is playing. 76, 76, 72, 90 points. This is supposed to be more so a defensive team. I get it that they play fast, but this is supposed to be a more defensively sound team, and they're not. They're really missing Puff Johnson. Puff Johnson deserves a lot more credit as a defender overall, and his absence is starting to show up. He's another one of those veterans. I've had my criticisms of Puff Johnson from a season ago. I've come around. Small criticisms here and there, just saying like, hey, shot selection is poor and stuff like that. But defensively and collecting rebounds, I never had any questions about that. But now you are truly seeing it that maybe Penn State just can't overcome the loss of a Puff Johnson. So they need him back sooner rather than later. It is a long-term injury. I won't sit here and say that he's out for the season because I don't know. And Mike Rhoades and Penn State are not going to say, just that they hope that he returns in this case. But hopefully that's like I said, sooner rather than later. If he's going to be available, hopefully they figure that out one way or another. I won't completely sell out on this team. I think the pieces are there. They have run into some stiff competition again. Illinois, Oregon, Michigan State. Michigan was ranked at one time in the top 25, but those are all ranked teams. It's just frustrating because they should be winning these games and they are not. So we'll take a quick break. When we return, I see some comments popping up in the live chat as we'll vent our frustrations about Penn State men's basketball team that should be winning these games. They are not. We'll discuss it more on the other side of this break. And this is a message from our sponsor, Intuit TurboTax. Taxes was waiting and wondering and worrying if you were going to get any money back, and then waiting, wondering, and worrying some more. Now, Taxes is matching with a TurboTax expert who can do your taxes as soon as today. An expert who gives your taxes their individual, undivided attention as they work on your return while you get real-time updates on their progress so you can focus on your day. An expert who will find you every deduction possible, file every form, every investment, everything with 100% accuracy. Also, you can get the most money back guaranteed. No waiting, no wondering, no worries. Now this is Taxes. Get an expert now on TurboTax.com. Only available with TurboTax Live Full Service. Real-time updates only in the iOS mobile app. See guarantee details at TurboTax.com/guarantees. That is TurboTax.com/guarantees. Today's episode is also brought to you by FanDuel. Super Bowl 59 is here. One game, two teams, endless possibilities, and there's no better way to make every play more exciting than with FanDuel Sportsbook. Whether it's predicting the first touchdown, calling the MVP, or even betting on the coin toss, FanDuel makes it easy to get in on the action, and with live betting all game long, you can adjust your bets as the game unfolds and feel the thrill from kickoff to the final whistle. The live betting feature lets you stay involved no matter what happens on the field, and the app is super easy to navigate. Plus, knowing that you can place a $5 bet and potentially win $200 in bonus bets for the Super Bowl. Now that's icing on the cake. Download the app or head over to FanDuel.com to get started and bet just $5, and if you win that first $5 bet, you'll score $200 in bonus bets. That's over at FanDuel.com. Again, FanDuel.com. Bet with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of Super Bowl 59. And thanks for joining the live show. Let's turn it to the comments section for a moment. Team has very low basketball IQ. There is talent, but they don't make winning plays. Good news is that many are seniors and move on. Time to start over in many spots. Wow, that's a rough assessment there. They are making the mistakes. So I will not let the games decide, because I've seen Ace Baldwin make incredible plays. That's why it's so frustrating and so confusing, because the team that was mostly comprised of these same players a season ago looks better. They communicate better. I'm not understanding where the lapse is, where the disconnect is. Is it Yannick Conan Niederhauser and DeLeon, because those two guys are the only different components here? Does Puff Johnson being absent really have that much of an impact on the team, to where guys who have played together for the second year in a row under the same coaching staff can't adjust and adapt accordingly? Ace Baldwin is playing the same hero ball Kanye Clary dragged us down with last season. I actually like that description there. Well, I don't like it, but I think it's pretty accurate there, is that Ace Baldwin is almost forcing himself into the hero ball, as you mentioned, and trying to do these acrobatics and make these insane plays, when in reality, I mean, I don't look at this team shot well tonight against Michigan, and it still wasn't enough. Drive to the basket, draw the fouls. You had Michigan in foul trouble early in the second half, for the most part, earlier in the second half, and you should have had the advantage there. Yet somehow Penn State didn't really get back to the free throw line frequently enough down the stretch, and you were already in bonus. Ace Baldwin is so good at getting to the basket. Nick Kern Jr. is so good at getting to the basket. Freddie DeLeon is so good at getting to the basket. So why aren't they drawing up plays to maximize that and then kick out to a Zach Hicks? It seems pretty simple. Look, I'm not a basketball coach, but I'm just trying to point out the basics here, because this is what their strengths are. I mean, we've seen year two of this. This is year two. DeMarco Dunn got a little more involved here, and I'm glad to see that too, coming off the bench, giving 28 minutes, and he 3 of 4 from 3-point range for 13 points. Now that's something you need from DeMarco Dunn a little more consistently than this against Michigan. But what's really frustrating is I have praised the defensive abilities of Ace Baldwin and Nick Kern and Freddie DeLeon to this point. And in the preseason, I thought they formed one of the best trios of guards in the Big Ten, and I argued, the country as well. Well, they're not playing like it. It's all this miscommunication. It is basic stuff. They are beating themselves. They are not losing games because the other team is outperforming them. Well, I guess they are in a sense. You lose for a reason. But it's the miscommunications, it's the lapse in defense, passing, shot selection, just decision-making. And for guys that are seniors, super seniors, to do that, that falls back on the coaching. That falls back on the coaching. I made the argument, and I'm not afraid to correct myself and admit when I am wrong. That is on coaching, because I said it was player execution, but the coaches have to do a better job. If the players cannot ad-lib on their own, then you have to step in as a coaching staff and say, we are going to follow this. I understand you want to trust your super senior guard in Ace Baldwin, that he's played enough basketball to make the appropriate decisions. But if he does not trust his teammates, clearly he doesn't trust his teammates around him, because he keeps taking ridiculous shots that I would never trust Ace Baldwin to take. Or anybody to take, frankly. Maybe Zach Hicks, if it's completely wide open. But not even that. I don't think the chances are that great there. So I really don't understand what is going on. Is Ace Baldwin's injuries or multitude of things that he was dealing with, is that more serious than we're led to believe? He at least looks better as of late. I could have bought into that for those few games where he just didn't look like himself at all. He's at least looked better. It's just at points in time, I felt like this team was a lot more cohesive a season ago than it is right now. You got to get DeMarco Dunn factored into the lineup a little more. Maybe you have DeLeon come off the bench and you insert DeMarco Dunn into the starting lineup. You have to do something different, because you're running out of time. You are running out of opportunities to get things right. And it's not like they're far off. It's not like they're losing by double digits every single night. They're leading in the final 2 minutes, and then they blow the lead. They're just not a clutch team. I haven't looked at the Ken Palm rankings recently, but they probably have one of Ken Palm tracks luck. They probably have one of the absolute worst luck ratings with the way that they continue to lose these games. I'm going to buy into this Penn State basketball team. They have Ohio State at home, which is a winnable game. They have Minnesota at home, which is a winnable game. They have UCLA on the road, which is not ideal, but UCLA is not this juggernaut and a team that Penn State should be able to beat. Same thing with USC, Washington, Nebraska, at Minnesota again, at Indiana for revenge. All of those teams are certainly beatable. And you got nothing to lose if you're Penn State basketball. I mean, I guess you have a tournament berth, but Penn State men's basketball has always been that late in the season kind of team, whether it's been under Mike Rhodes' team got better as the season went on. Micah Shrewsbury's teams got better. Same thing with Pat Chambers. It was always that second half and they'd make that late season run to really put themselves back into the bubble. You have to go on a winning streak. You've made this a lot more difficult, but you have to go on a winning streak. Every game outside of UCLA, I assume that they should win. I assume that they are the favorite and they should be a convincing favorite in all of these until they get to Maryland and Wisconsin at the end of the season. So let's count them out here. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games. 7 of those 8 games, they should be favored to win and expect them to win as well. No more full court presses at all. This has not been good. This is not good and it's been horrendous. It's on coaching. It is on coaching. I feel like anytime we are on offense, Joe Crispin should call the sets and the plays, and Rhodes should instruct the defense when to press and when not to. I mean, Joe Crispin was brought in as an assistant to Mike Rhodes, and they definitely he has influence on the offense. But yes, Mike Rhodes is calling the whole game. He's instructing the whole game. I don't know that you make that kind of coaching change in the middle of the season. Something you work on over the course of the off season. We're talking about communication issues and execution and everything. I feel like that would create more issues than it would solutions, but I still have cautious optimism because I don't think this team is bad. They're just not closing out against good teams. So let's not read into it terribly. This isn't a declaration to say that this team is awful. They can't do this. They can't get better. No, they can. Puff Johnson hopefully can come back sooner rather than later. These are winnable games down the stretch of the season. If you can put a winning streak together to offset this losing streak, you're right back in it. I mean, to get to the tournament, you really just have to go 500 in Big Ten play, and that's not out of the question. They're 3-7, but they keep missing these opportunities to really pad their resume. A win over Oregon would have looked great. I didn't expect them to beat Michigan State, even though they kept it close. A win over Iowa, a win over Michigan. Those games on the road, quad 1 wins, those would go a long way, and they blew them. So you can't continue to let one loss turn into 2, 3, 4. I fully expect them to beat Ohio State at home. Same thing with Minnesota. We'll see about UCLA. They're better than USC. They're better than Washington. They're better than Nebraska. And we'll see what the timeline is for Puff Johnson. He is a key player. If they get him back in the middle of February, this is a team that could make some serious noise. So I am not completely counting them out. I thought this team was set up for success. It's just strange to me that a team that has played for the most part close to 2 years of basketball together acts like they've never played a pickup game before together. So get some final comments in here. Also, double teaming guys right on the 3-point line is annoying and it never works. It leaves guys wide open. Michigan was all over that from a player standpoint and a coaching standpoint. Thoughts on Mike Rhodes' hatred for late timeouts? Yes, that was another, again, it's on coaching because it starts at the top. The players are making poor decisions. That's because the coaches are making poor decisions in real time. And also the score bug said that Penn State had a timeout, didn't have a timeout. They took a timeout. So I was confused as well how many timeouts Mike Rhodes actually had at the end of the game. But if he had one, he should have used it and drew up a play when it was 74-72. And you could have gone to overtime. You do not need the game-winning shot in that moment. 3-point defense is bad. And it's communication because Kern, Dillion, Ace Baldwin are all capable defenders, and there's some of the best backcourt defenders, but they're here. I always see it was DeLeon more often than not where he was just chasing and running like he missed an assignment, and maybe because he did, or maybe he didn't know that was his man on the switch. I don't know. It boils down to communication, and it's such basic stuff. These guys are all veterans. This is supposed to be a good coaching staff, but they're not acting like it, and they can fix things. They have a favorable schedule coming up. So this is against good competition. If this was happening against the worst of the Big Ten, then yes, sell out on this team, and these conversations aren't as interesting. There's not really much to analyze here, but this is happening against a ranked Oregon, a ranked Michigan State, a capable Iowa team, and an underrated Michigan team for what it's worth. So these losses they're not inexcusable, but they're not the word. They're, like I said, I don't want to declare that Penn State men's basketball is absolutely atrocious. That's where we'll wrap up this live show. Thank you so much for checking out this live show and talking some Penn State men's basketball with me. If you are new to the show, subscribe to the YouTube channel and wherever you get your podcasts. Again, thank you for contributing your thoughts in the live chat. We talk about all your favorite Penn State sports teams here. Penn State basketball, Penn State wrestling. We are more than just Penn State football. We are also daily here. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every day. So stay tuned for more conversations around your favorite Penn State sports teams here on Locked On Nittany Lions.